Let's go ahead and start out with this first.
This is Fantasy Intervention. Now here to intervene with your fantasy life, Chase Vernon.
I still don't know where it ended. I'm trying, guys. I'm trying to figure it all out. I still don't know when to call it off. I'm trying to figure out how to reduce the sound, but I've been busy. But yeah, I'm here to host this podcast along with my good friend over there, Bo McBigtime. What's going on, Bo? How you doing tonight, man?
I'm feeling great. We're right. It's just every Saturday night I get off work and I just get excited because it's like I don't have to go back to work tomorrow. Tomorrow's Sunday. Tomorrow's for football only. I probably have chores to do, but they're not going to happen tomorrow.
Dude, God, you talk about chores around the house, man. You should see my kitchen right now. It is absolutely destroyed because I'm going back to work a little bit. We're going to find out here on Tuesday if work is back to full time or not. But, or actually not even back to full time. We're going to see if work is shut down or not coming up. So we'll see what happens. But anyways, man, what's going on, Bo? Like, how was your holiday? How was your turkey day?
It was actually quite nice because for the first time in like 5 years, I didn't have to do a damn thing.
What?
And yeah, so my brother-in-law is a 911 dispatcher. And so he had to work a 12-hour shift on Thanksgiving Day. So my mother-in-law decided she's going to do the whole spread on Wednesday night. So we had our Thanksgiving dinner on Wednesday night, and Thursday is a paid holiday for me. So I literally slept in, woke up with no alarm clock right before kickoff of the Lions game. Watched football until the Cowboys demolition was over, and then I actually went to bed early because I had to work yesterday, so it was not bad. I went to bed, slept in the early way, and got up and went to work. And Black Friday at Costco is not too bad.
I think Sugar Tits is giving you a thumbs up,
Or you? I mean, I don't know.
Who knows which one?
Mel Gibson Abbey. I love that.
Let's throw that up there one more time. Oh, God. Absolutely love it. So what's going on, guys? Welcome on into Fantasy Intervention. We have another DFS show coming at you guys real quick, real hard, real heavy. This is, in the words of Troy King, King, this is absolutely a shit show of a week. I mean, what's came to fruition over the past, 24 to 48 hours has absolutely been just insane, like in bad ways, for DFS. We don't really know what's going to happen this week, but we put together a show sheet for you guys. We got everything, lined up the best we can. And our picks, luckily, had nothing really to do with the Colts situation with Jonathan Taylor, had nothing to do with the Broncos situation over there. So luckily, we should be able to give you guys at least some decent advice, and it could actually help out with all the situations we weren't affected by the takes that we had, right?
Yeah, it looks pretty good still. I mean, we didn't actually have to edit our show sheet whatsoever, and that's surprising because, knock on wood, we might have more changes before tomorrow.
Oh my God, man, COVID is running rampant right now, and it's unfortunate, but it is what it is, man. It's something that we knew was going to happen this year. So if you were somebody that played fantasy football, you can't get mad at everything that's going to happen. You can't use that excuse.
It's happening to everybody.
So, anyways, real quick, Bo, before we get started, tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at Bo_McBigtime. All the stuff I write is on there. All the musings I see on TV, and I'll tweet out there. And I'm pretty active on Twitter, but everything else just kind of runs through that. So find me at Bo_McBigtime on Twitter, and everything will branch off from there.
Absolutely love it, man.
Yeah,
absolutely love it. Love your work.
5 articles a week now.
Are you really?
Yeah.
All DFS?
Most of them, yeah.
That's sick, man. That's awesome. Stoked about that. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into this episode. Before we do, make sure you guys check out thrivefantasy.com. Once again, that's thrivefantasy.com. Use promo code CIRCLE when you guys go to make your deposit, and you will actually get your deposit matched. Once again, that's thrivefantasy.com. Promo code CIRCLE when you go in there. It's pretty much like a way of actually playing DFS, but with prop bets. It's absolutely amazing. I love Thrive, man. I love Thrive. Wish I could actually play it more often when I actually do. But let's go ahead and dive into this episode. We have some matchups that we're actually checking out, some stacks that we want to line up. And man, like, did we unload on some of these stacks? Because it's weird, man. Like, there's not a ton of matchups that stand out this week. Like, the beginning of the season, we saw matchups because it was like some of the best offenses going against some of the worst defenses. It was like the perfect storm. So it's kind of mellowed out, and we expected that to happen. So I think we're going to see like a ton of ownership on certain games, you know, that do stand out, like the Chargers and Bills, which we're going to talk about here in a second. But I don't know if I'm actually buying into some of the chalkier plays, you know? Like when we talk about the Bills, we talk about the Chargers, but defense have shown like significant improvements. And yeah, the passing game in particular, along with the turnovers, aren't kind of either one that we were looking at if it was a comparison back to the beginning of the season. Meanwhile, outside of that game, we have like 2 or 3 that have over 50 points, you know, for the over-under total. So I did want to talk about, let's go ahead and launch this off and talk about the Chargers and the Bills. And I'm going to let you kick this one off. Tell us what you think about this matchup.
It's appetizing, which makes it good to fade. I like fading this game. I want a little bit of it because I do expect it to be a higher end total at the end of the day. But I'm not necessarily calling this the most stackable game on the slate by any stretch. It's going to be hard to peg down the correct stack because there's going to be so many moving parts there. And so I'm going to let people eat that chalk there because there's going to be other lower owned stacks that are going to score equivalent points or even more points than your Josh Allen or your Justin Herbert stacks. So I'm going to be looking kind of elsewhere to stack if I want to, and I might roll out one of those quarterbacks in a build by themselves because they're great plays, and you have a lot of upside on both sides there. But trying to peg down which receivers are going to go off is it's going to cost people money.
It really is. I mean, we sit there and we talk about the prices. It's absolutely insane. And, you know, like you brought up, love the quarterbacks on both sides of the situation. But like we said, improving defenses might actually hinder this ability. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the plays that you are going to go after or some of the ones that you're not.
First of all, Keenan Allen, this is the first time we've seen him overpriced. Up until this point, he's either been at value for what I expect him to do or below. He's been a great bargain up until last week where I think he was appropriately priced. At 8,000, I'm getting to the point where I don't necessarily want to put Keenan Allen in a build because if he has a game where Trey White decides to shadow him into the slot and elsewhere, his upside is really going to be capped big time. And at 8,000, you don't want a guy that's going to be capped.
Now it's just a mess over there with the entire situation. And like you talked about the guys that we want to go with. So was there anybody else that you were talking about in particular?
I like Mike Williams at 5,000. That's a great value. He's just as capable of putting up a huge game as Keenan Allen. He's their deep threat. I also love Austin Eckler. He's been activated. So, I mean, that's wheels up, baby. We've seen all kinds of stud running backs go out with injury this year, but when they come back because of their backups or the people they've scraped off the garbage pile haven't really impressed. Like Kalen Ballage is not going to get that many touches now that Eckler's back. So your Eckler play is definitely a go at 6,100. That's a top 5 running back potential for a mid-range RB2 price.
Yeah, I 100% on board with that. Is there anybody else in this matchup that you actually want to touch on before I go off on one of my rants? You know they're coming. Yeah,
so Diggs is a no-brainer. I mean, I don't think that the Chargers have 3 great DBs, but none of them is an eraser. You get a good top flight receiver like Stephon Diggs. He's pretty much matchup proof. He's going to get his volume. He's going to have the big play potential no matter what he does. And I think his price is more appropriate for Keenan Allen. I think they should be at the same price. So if you can save a couple $100 and go with Stephon Diggs over Keenan Allen in a game stack, that would be my preference. Go ahead on your rant.
You ready? You ready for this?
Yeah.
All right. So everything that you brought up, everything on the show sheet that you typed up, I pretty much agree with, which is kind of weird because, I looked into this when we first got into this whole, layout. I wanted to disagree with you on multiple different levels. I wanted to disagree with the price of Keenan Allen, hitting this triple value 3 in the last 5 games. I wanted to disagree with thing after thing after thing, but then I looked into it, right? And you were right dead on the money with this matchup. I mean, the 3 out of the 5 games that Keenan Allen actually has hit triple his value, they were up against the Raiders. They were up against the Jags. They were up against the Jets. Meanwhile, they pretty much overall, when it comes to the Bill side of things, they've shut down the slot. These more physical downfield threats, they tend to kind of excel in this situation where we're talking about like Hopkins, we're talking about Metcalf. Williams is that guy. Williams should be the one that absolutely smashes this week. Meanwhile, Eckler, like you talked about, I was a little bit worried they wouldn't give him full workload. I still am. And honestly, I kind of actually want to lean Balazs on this one, but I can understand why you would go Eckler because his price is just so sexy, right? If Balazs is actually 100%, doesn't have to deal with an ankle issue, which remains to be seen. You guys are going to have to wait till tomorrow morning to figure that one out. Then I'll play Balazs still and plenty of them, especially with all the red zone touches and red zone opportunities that he's getting. But I can understand why you'd want to go that way. I am now completely Williams over, for the pricing at least. I'm going Williams over Allen, of course. And then I could see Eckler as a major play. As for the Bill side of things, we have Diggs, right? And Casey Hayward, by the way, has been more of a shutdown corner. But up against certain wide receivers, it almost reminds me of like a Josh Norman-esque type player where he's that tactician, right? He's great with his hands. He's great with short yardage stuff. But when it comes to speed, right? And it comes to these double moves, he tends to give that up because he is so physical, right? Keep in mind, right? He's only allowed 45.6% completion percentage so far this season up against quarterbacks. However, when we sit there and we look at it, 26 receptions that he's allowed has gone for 468 yards. How does that happen? How is
he
that a
doesn't
thing?
he doesn't have the catch-up speed, as that's what that is. If he gets burned on a double move or if he gets a go route where he's sitting on a short route, he's not going to catch up to a good pass. A good pass over the top is going to burn him.
And that sounds like Stephon Diggs, right? That is Stephon Diggs 100%. Only 98 of the 406, or I should say 98 of the 468 yards have come as yak, right? And then 20% of those catches that he's allowed, the 26 catches, have been almost 20% have been touchdowns, right? So I'm stacking Josh Allen with some combination of Moss, Diggs, and Beasley, right? And you sat there. I know you don't like Moss this week. Or no, I know you don't like Singletary, which we'll talk about in a second. You do like Moss, correct?
Right. I do like Moss.
Okay. I'm attacking Moss. All right. The Chargers, since week 7, have allowed 7 touchdowns on the ground and 570 yards rushing. That's in 5. That's in 5 games. 7 touchdowns, 570 yards rushing. I love the touchdown upside for Moss, right? And I love the rushing upside, but Singletary is actually a sneaky play in this one. You don't like Singletary.
But he's cheap, so I get it.
Yeah, his pricing makes sense. And I'm going to put him in one lineup at least. The Chargers are 28th in explosive plays allowed. Meanwhile, Singletary is 11th in breakaway runs so far in the NFL. So with Zach Moss leading the team in carries and snaps, I like Zach Moss a lot more. However, Singletary is still right there with them. They're splitting like 60-40 when it comes to snaps. So I think that Singletary is still a play.
Yeah, especially if you're going like a stars and scrubs type build. Singletary is darn near the minimum price for a running back, which is pretty cool because he's going to get 35-40% of the running back touches. They don't throw to the running back position very often because of Josh Allen's scrambling ability. But it still lends – I mean, if you have a minimum running back that's going to be on the field that much, the touchdown potential is going to be there because he does break away. I mean, he's not fast or explosive, but he does break away. And so you have to take that into account.
Yeah, I'm sitting there and I'm looking at Singletary and I'm like, damn, man, he doesn't get any red zone touches. He plays between the 20s essentially. But I just like his ability to actually get these breakaway runs, which, by the way, when Devin Singletary came to the league, I never thought I'd be using him as an example for breakaway run rate. I always thought he'd create yards because
didn't he run like a
4.67?
Yeah, he ran like a 4.67. It was, but he's got lateral quickness. For his size, it's pretty surprising how agile he is.
And he's very physical.
Right, and you get him in open space, and he's got contact balance. And I love the guys like that have contact balance where they don't need speed. They're like Emmitt Smith, where you can hit him and he's not going down.
It's almost like a Le'Veon Bell type situation over there. But obviously he's not that talented. Anyways, I was going to bring up Gabriel Davis, right? But Mike Davis has been sick so far this season. And Gabriel Davis, he gets a ton of snaps in the slot unless John Brown is out. Now, when John Brown is out, he takes over that role. And so now he's going to be faced up with Mike Davis the entire game. So I do not like Gabriel Davis near as much as I thought I would for this matchup.
Yeah, at the same time, I do like Davis as a dart throw because he is the minimum price and he's a big play kind of guy. I don't like him for a cash game play, obviously, because, I don't know if he's going to get shut down by Mike Davis. But Gabriel Davis has the speed. He's not a slot guy because Beasley's going to take that role over, especially with John Brown out. So Beasley's a great cash play. I like Davis as a dart throw at 3,000 in a tournament because if he gets one bomb, 65-yard touchdown, you're going to be happy that you had him.
And he looks like a Muppet too, which is pretty cool. I don't know if you've ever seen that post. He looks like a Muppet.
He does, and Jim Henson would be proud of the creation that Gabriel Davis is.
He looks like a Muppet. It's amazing. I need to get that post back out there. Go check me out over there.
You got to rehash that one. I bump that baby up.
Yeah, it's over there at FF_intervention. Just search my name with Gabriel Davis and Muppet, and I'm sure it'll come up. It's a great post. I love that one. It's one of my favorites. I was walking my dog and I thought of it. I was like, dude, he looks like a freaking Muppet.
You nailed it. He's a dead ringer for a Jim Henson creation.
All right, so let's go ahead and hop on to our next game stack. Hey, Calvin, what's up, man?
Hey.
Calvin, love you. I just want to give you a heads up. He's asking questions. We're not going to sit there and go through it because we do have a DFS show. But if you tune in tomorrow at 11:30 tomorrow morning, we will go through all the start and sit questions 100%. Dan made graphics in the house, man. So real quick, Dan made graphics. I do want to give this guy a shout out just because of the fact that he actually made the logo for Some Yards Are Better Than No Yards, which is where we're playing with kids that have special needs. And yeah, they learn how to play fantasy football. So we've been going throughout this entire year. It's been a lot of fun. But Dan made graphics actually made our logo one try. It was literally one go. And they made it, and it was absolutely insane.
One shot, one kill.
Guys,
and that's a great cause, too.
Yeah, it's been fun, man. I've actually got to meet up with them every Monday, and it's been a blast. But yeah, go check out at Dan Made Graphics on Twitter if you guys need something simple, a very simple logo overall. And go check out, Dan Made Graphics. He does complicated stuff. He does simple stuff. Go check it out. All right, so let's go ahead and hop back into this DFS episode, get back on track. We have on the next game, on this slate, we have the Raiders versus the Falcons. So what are you looking at with the Raiders versus Falcons? You and I both like this matchup, correct?
Yeah, this is my most stackable game. I figure it's going to be the highest total. In fact, if you read my my surprisingly spicy stacks and my pecan takes articles that I released today and yesterday, I'm all over this game. This game is gorgeous. It's going to be a big,
so sexy, it's so
back and forth. I think it's going to be like 34-31 at the end of the day. We're talking neither defense can stop an NFL offense. And so even though Matt Ryan hasn't been the sexiest this year, and even though Derek Carr can't seem to throw for 300 yards even in his best games, I love this game because it's just going to be back and forth, terrible defense.
Yeah, and honestly, the Raiders didn't have they're not a good defense, right? But they're not like one of these defenses like the Lions or the Falcons.
No, I think they're 21st or 24th, something like that. They're bottom half, which is appealing to me because the Falcons do have weapons.
Yeah, but that can make this game competitive, which is what I want to see, right? I don't want to see a blowout on either side because we sat there and I dove into it in the offseason, guys. And you guys probably heard this, by the way. You guys heard this if you listen to my show on a regular basis. I don't want to see a blowout on either side because blowouts typically end up limiting the upside of certain, players. The reason why we saw Lockett go off, the reason why we saw Metcalf go off multiple times throughout the season is because of the fact that it's remained competitive. We want to see continuous scoring, and that's what this game can be. So let's go ahead and let's talk about who you're looking at for this matchup. Go ahead and go through your whole slate, and then I'll come back and give my side.
All right, so this is a game where you could stack with either quarterback. I like Derek Carr. He is hot right now. He's throwing touchdowns. He's making big plays in the passing game. Darren Waller, no brainer. He's my best spend up option at tight end this week with Kelsey at 7,000 against a tougher defense against tight ends. We'll get to that, but Waller at 6,000 is a great spend up option because he is their offense. John Gruden loves throwing to the tight end position. He designs plays for Waller. Derek Carr doesn't really go through progressions well. For as hot as he's been, he has eyes for 83. When he hasn't hit 83, he's hit Nelson Aguilar. And for as many balls as Aguilar drops, he catches a lot of big plays. So as a tournament play, stackable play, Nelson Aguilar is beautiful. But my main guy that I can't stress enough this week is Josh Jacobs. It's criminal that a guy this good is priced down that far below a Dalvin Cook, that far below a Nick Chubb. It's something I have to hit because he's going to get almost all the carries. Devontae Booker's going to get alternate reps every third or fourth series, but Jacobs is a touchdown machine. Gotta have him.
God, I'm not on the same boat with you on the Josh Jacobs part.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not. And I love Josh Jacobs. We talk about him almost every single show. Right?
You have this weird obsession that you think that the Falcons' run defense is okay.
It is okay to an extent. Their upside is very limited. So the Falcons, they're so easy to pass on that it ends up limiting this upside for the running backs typically. And their defense has gotten more healthy, but at the same time, it hasn't really gotten, too much more efficient. So teams can pass on these running backs. Meanwhile, it limits the upside of it. And it's not like a wide receiver who can take, 4 catches to the house, 2 of them to the house out of the 4 catches that they have and have a massive game. Typically for running backs, you either need a tremendous breakaway run rate or you're going to need volume. And for Josh Jacobs, although he does have breakaway runs, he's still not going to be like a Dalvin Cook who's going to take a 97-yard touchdown to the house, or DeAndre Swift who's going to have 8 receptions with 2 touchdowns on 8 receptions. Josh Jacobs needs the volume, and so I don't know if there's enough volume to be had for Josh Jacobs in this case in order to make it worth the price.
Yeah, I just gotta disagree. I mean, I think Jacobs is a smash this week. Just for that volume's sake, I think he gets 20, 25 touches pretty easily in this game, regardless of game script. If the Raiders get out to a lead and we see the Falcons try to pass their way back into it, that's kind of what I hope happens. Is it's a back and forth game in the Raiders' favor, where the Raiders get out to the hot start and the Falcons have to come back. It's kind of been the reverse of what's happened to the Falcons all season, where they start off hot and they can't put games away because their run game is pretty bad. But I think that it's going to work in our favor here because Brian Hill's way more explosive than Todd Gurley, and Gurley being out actually helps the Falcons with their game plan. Yeah, I said it. That's spicy, right?
It's a little spicy.
Yeah, but I'm more on the Falcons side here because they're going to have to pass the ball. If they're going to keep up with the Raiders with that passing attack is pretty hot. The Falcons defense is atrocious. I do see the need for Matt Ryan to have his signature game against a bad defense in their own right.
He does have these weird games, man. Like, he had it back a few weeks ago. He's the number 2 quarterback on the week. He has these random games where he just absolutely destroys, and this could be one of the games. But with the injuries and stuff, I'm actually going to be fading Matt Ryan to an extent. I'm not going to say that he's not startable, right? But I love certain matchups for this. I mean, Chev comes on here and says, I love Brian Hill.
5,900
for Matt Ryan. God, that's such a good price.
That is fucking sexy, dude.
I'll have a couple plays for Matt Ryan. I'm not going to lie, but
5,900 for a guy who against good defenses is absolute dumpster fire. He can't throw the ball against good defenses. Against bad defenses, he's an MVP candidate.
God, it's sexy.
He's the most matchup dependent quarterback in the entire league.
That's probably true. Probably true. All right, so are you done with your side real quick? Because once again,
Oh yeah, I was just
gotta
gonna go over Ridley as Ridley's another smash for me because Julio, I think he's gonna suit up. Julio returning at the end of last week's game against the Saints told me a lot that hamstring injury wasn't that serious, because if they had any qualms about him re-injuring that hamstring in the middle of that game, they would have just taken his helmet away and sat him down. But he went back in the game. He hobbled around, and I think he'll be back on the field. Even as a decoy, it helps Calvin Ridley immensely. And Calvin Ridley is going to torch that defense.
Yeah, it's going to be sexy. So I'm going to go ahead and start from fresh, right? We're going to start from scratch, like, where we were, because I want to talk about Derek Carr. He's been such a tease. Like, he's the biggest tease out there. Like, he's sitting there.
He's got the French tickler.
Oh my God, man! Just tickling the butthole, like,
and his eyeliner. He wears eyeliner, obviously. I mean, he looks like the Undertaker out there. He's
sitting there dude. It should have been Mark Sanchez ever, on the cover of what was it, GQ? Like, yeah, it should have been
Steph and his jockeys.
It should have been Derek Carr. Derek Carr is that guy. He has 5 games above 20 points so far this season. He has 5 games below 16. Obviously, nothing in between. The toughest part is there's no correlation to his success. Like, breaking down the stats, there is no correlation whatsoever to Derek Carr's success, right? Not yards.
Just look at last week. The Chiefs secondary is actually pretty good, and Derek Carr lit them up.
It's so crazy. Like, all right, so when we break down the yards, right? He was QB5 last week, to your point. He threw for less than 300 yards, and he was QB5. How does that happen?
Touchdowns, baby, touchdowns.
But the touchdowns aren't even a correlation, right? Because he had multiple touchdowns, right? Yeah. In, 2 games, and he still had under 16 points in the multiple touchdown games, in 2 of those games. It's not volume, because 2 of his games with over 30 attempts both ended with less than 16 points. And it's not his yards per attempt or air yards per attempt, because 3 of his top 7 games in air yards per attempt were under 16 points. And then not even the matchups. The matchups, like you just talked about, you just brought this up. The matchups aren't even telling, right? Like,
he's the French tickler of quarterbacks. And even only thing I can think of with Derek Carr is he's been madly efficient this season. Even in his down games, he doesn't madly efficient. But yeah, he hasn't fumbled, I don't think, this season. He only threw that 1 pick at the very end when he had to force the ball into coverage at the very end.
Same thing last year.
I know, but he hasn't been turning the ball over, and that's humongous for stats.
I'm telling you,
he was good last year.
He was great last year. Yeah. He finished his quarterback 18, but if he scored 2 more points per game, he would have finished his quarterback 8. So, he's right there on the threshold. He was always right there. And I thought that Ruggs would end up adding to that, right? And get him over the hump. However, this year, he's a little bit more sporadic than he was last year. Last year he's more consistent overall. He had a lot of 16, 17, 18-point games, 19-point games. This year, it's a little bit different. This year, he's more hit or miss because they are running
their brains this year.
Oh my God, man! I got hard, then I got soft, and I got hard, and it's just it's back.
You hate to see it.
Snap.
You hate to see it.
What is that?
But guess what? Think about this. His top wide receiver this year is Nelson Aguilar. Guess who's less consistent than Nelson Aguilar? Not a single soul. So maybe he lives and dies by whether Aguilar catches the damn ball.
Not this year. Actually, Aguilar still is in top 10 drops this year, but it's not. It's only 4 drops or something. All right, so real quick, right? I want to play Carr this week. I'm playing Carr this week. There's no way I'm not playing Carr. Carr is my favorite quarterback in the entire week.
It's another great price for a high upside quarterback. In the Falcons can't even stop Taysom Hill. So what does that say about a guy who just lit up one of the best secondaries in the league in Kansas City
for the second time this season?
Right, and that surprises me.
I want to figure out who he's going to throw to though. Because the obvious answer is Waller, and I went through a bunch of research, and I don't even want to bore you guys. I don't even need to tell you guys the stats on Waller. So
Waller. Waller.
Waller's a smash play. I'm a little bit disappointed how this year has gone with Ruggs and Edwards, right? When it comes to the rookies over there, like I talked about earlier, the 2 points per game increase would have made Derek Carr the quarterback quarterback 8. So I was hoping that would happen this season. Meanwhile, Ruggs and Edwards have both been dealing with injuries. But Ruggs, after the injuries, like this system hasn't gone back to the way that I hoped it would go, right? So Edwards was playing X as the alpha, and he's been dealing with issues. So I knew that Edwards would end up needing time to kind of heal up. But I still thought that he would get playing time over the past 2 weeks, and that has not been the case. Meanwhile, Ruggs started out in the slot, and since Edwards got hurt, Ruggs has kind of had to take over the Edwards role. Just because. So Renfro has been sticking in, and Renfro has been really annoying because of the fact that Renfro has produced.
Renfro is great at getting open, though.
Yeah, but he's only produced one relevant fantasy week that would be worth playing in DFS. So he ruins everybody else's chances.
Yeah, he gets open on those 5-yard routes and then he falls down. So yeah, he just ruins everything. So
Ruggs essentially is playing the X. Meanwhile, Aguilar is playing the Z, and then we have, of course, Renfro at the Y right now, and that's not what I want to see for DFS purposes. Like, that's not what I want. So I want to see Edwards this week, having his third week now of being healthy. I need to see Edwards take over that X role so that we can sit there and we can put Ruggs into the Y, and then Nelson Aguilar can stay as the C. That's cool. I need Ruggs to dominate this slot position. I need it. Like, I absolutely need it. We sat there and we've seen Ruggs have multiple amazing weeks. And I know that I'm chasing the dragon. On this one. But Atlanta is giving up almost 5 plays? Yeah, 5 plays per game.
A lot.
Of 20-plus yards, passing yards per game, right? 5 plays of 20-plus passing yards per game. Carr is averaging 6 deep passes per game over the last 3 games. So Derek Carr is now finally starting to, let the ball loose a little bit.
He throws a pretty deep ball too.
He does, but he does it like he has nobody to throw to. So Ruggs could be that guy this week. I know I'm chasing the dragon, but I'm excited. I've got a chub going for Ruggs this week because Isaiah Oliver has been terrible. And with his 4.5 speed, if Ruggs could just see like 1 or 2 minimum single coverages up against Isaiah Oliver, which I think could happen. I think it's going to smash this week. I mean, we sit there and we talk about their blitz percentages for Atlanta. Like, they blitz a decent amount of the time.
Yeah, they have to. They have to.
Yeah, because their secondary is so bad.
That's so bad.
I just need
that leaves them even more vulnerable. You leave those guys on an island, they pick up that blitz because the Raiders' offensive lines are really good, like really good. And if they pick up some of those blitzes that they're running 30-40% of the time, and you have even more of a chance for those big plays because you're leaving terrible DBs on an island against speed receivers like Ruggs, and that's what we're hoping will happen for Ruggs this week.
This is how you smash in DFS.
If this isn't the Ruggs week, there isn't going to be one this year.
Pretty much. I mean, if you don't feel good playing Ruggs, good. This is DFS. You should never feel good playing a wide receiver like Ruggs. Like,
you got a guy that runs a 4.26. The guy runs a 4.26. He doesn't have very much wiggle, but if he gets just a little bit of space, we could have what everybody's been chiming for all 12 weeks. Wiggle. Yeah, no wiggle for Ruggs, but he's fast enough to where if he gets a little bit of space, he could do some special things. And there's nothing.
Like Ruggs wiggle.
Yeah, but Ruggs at this point is a best ball / DFS play and a tournament play every week. I mean, you can throw him in there as a dart throw any week because he's got that speed.
I'm still going to play Edwards, by the way, one of these lineups, like just for the fuck of it.
And Edwards hasn't been as disappointing, like you said, because of the injuries. He's a big-bodied wide receiver. He's great at boxing out. He just doesn't have the chemistry with Carr yet, and that's the biggest
He hasn't
problem.
Been able to play.
Ruggs has been a bigger disappointment because he's gotten the snap share and he just hasn't gotten open, which I don't think that Ruggs
is healthy, by the way. Like, he just doesn't look right.
He's going to have to get better at finding space for himself within that offense. And that's kind of the hope, is that when he gets back in that slot and he gets more used to finding those little like spaces in the zone. And if Jason Witten can get open in a zone, Henry Ruggs can get open in a zone if he learns it.
Yeah, it just takes time. Now, let's go ahead and let's hop on the other side of this. And the RB, like I said, that I love isn't Jacobs, it's Hill, who you brought up. Right? He's going to be chalk, but I'm eating that chalk. Littleton is back, so that leaves a little bit less upside, but it's still something that I'm playing. I mean, at 4K on DraftKings, you're talking about 30 yards rush and a touchdown, 2 receptions for 10 yards. Yeah,
free space.
I normally don't like free spaces. Like when Devonta Freeman was quote unquote free space.
Oh no,
no, but Hill is explosive enough. Like we're sitting there, right? We're looking at, in order for him to pay off, 30 yards rushing, touchdown, 2 receptions for 10 yards. But up against Vegas, like you're more still looking at 50 yards, a touchdown, and then 4 receptions for like 30 additional yards. I'll take that. Like that's a 4.5, 5 times multiplier. So that like Hill's locked into a good amount of my lineup. It's not like every single one, but a good amount.
No. You can't really put anybody in every single lineup unless they're a Dalvin Cook or something like that.
Or Antonio Gibson. So we
yeah.
I mean, obviously it's not JD McKissic, right, Beau?
Yeah, so I had a pretty good diversity on those plays because I love Gibson. It's just as much as anybody else, but I did see more of a balanced attack coming in that game. So
no, you cannot pass the running backs up against the Cowboys. I don't know how many times I have to say it. You can't do it.
And I didn't do it in everywhere. Like in my tournament plays, I played Gibson. If I'm in a cash or a small tournament, I played McKissic and Zeke because I wanted that stability and floor. But in a tournament, you better believe I was playing Gibson because that kid can score touchdowns like nobody else right now.
I had 0 shares of McKissic.
Yeah, all right, so that helped you a lot.
I know. That was like the biggest thing. But anyways, as for Hurst, right? We're still talking about the Atlanta Falcons game. As for Hurst, he's a fade for me. I know that some people like him, but
he might not even play.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's been questionable. He hurt his ankle last week at the end of the game, and he's officially a game time decision, which I don't like at all. I like him if he's healthy because the Raiders really don't stop tight ends very well, and Hurst has been as steady as it gets for tight ends other than last week. He fell from tight end 4 to tight end 11 after his goose egg last week, and his ankle's hurt. So, yeah, he's a fade for me too.
Well, to be honest with you, all right, so like Hayden Hurst, right? I like him. I think that he has been reliable, but ever since like Abrams come back and stuff, like the Raiders have just been solid. Like they've been good, not great, but they've been very good up against tight ends. So Hurst, he is a very good floor, but his upside's limited, which is not what I want in DFS. But talking about like the pass catchers, right? Ridley, I hope that Julio does play because of the fact that Ridley's been much better with Julio in the lineup versus out of the lineup. Like neither Russell Gage or Ridley do better with Julio out of the lineup, which is kind of weird. I'm sitting there and I think he's a smash play. He go one-on-one coverage against Mullen or Arnett. It really doesn't matter. I mean, he should see Mullen, but either way, I still think that he's going to smash this week, just like you brought up. I don't think we need to spend too much time on
these outside corners for the Raiders are getting beaten up. Every week they play a tough wide receiver with upside. They're getting beaten, and it's so appetizing because Ridley can get open against anybody.
Russell Gage for me is still a play, but I don't love it. I still will play Russell Gage in a lineup or two when I do these stacks, but I'm probably not going to play him outside of the stacked lineups. Now, Christian Blake is the guy that I kind of like as a sneaky play if Julio's out, but if Julio's in, I'm not playing him. Yeah,
Blake has been they have a very set depth chart on the Falcons wide receivers.
Yeah, and they just rotate in certain players when the other guys don't play.
The most stable thing we've seen on any team is the Falcons wide receivers. When Ridley was out, we saw Olamide Zaccheaus, and he was the direct replacement. And when we saw Julio out, it was Blake. And it was weird because you never saw Zaccheaus go in for Julio, and you never saw Blake go in for Ridley. It was very straightforward. We've seen each one of those studs go out, and they got replaced by the same guy both times.
All right, so just clarify for both of us, right?
Yeah.
Derek Carr and Waller are absolute locks. Meanwhile, we're going to run it back with Ridley and Hill. I'm going to lean more so towards Ruggs. You're going to lean more so towards Nelson Aguilar, correct?
Yeah, in a tournament, I like Aguilar's upside. I would never play him in cash because you never know if he's just going to throw up a big dud. His targets haven't been steady. But yeah, I like Ruggs too. I mean, Ruggs will be in a few builds of my own. Just the kid just flies, and he's been getting a bad rap because he's got no wiggle, like we said.
All right, so let's go ahead, right? And let's go ahead and break down this next matchup. Instead of me or you going through, let me go through it. Then let's let's talk about it as we go. So our next matchup is the Chiefs and the Bucks, right? We have Tyreek Hill, who is an absolute must play. This offense and these wide receivers are very tricky overall, but Tyreek Hill for me, and I didn't draft Tyreek Hill. I have Tyreek Hill nowhere. I don't have a single share of Tyreek Hill, just the record. But this is the play because Sean Murphy-Bunting, who's a slot cornerback, is allowing the third highest yards per snap out of the slot, the fourth highest passer rating out of the slot. By the way, this is for a minimum of 150 snaps per slot corner. He's credited with 4 touchdowns allowed, but issues with communication have led to so many more than just 4 touchdowns allowed. So he should be credited with closer to 6 or 7. And even at 4, if he's only allowed 4, that leaves him with the 8th most of all corners in the NFL. Now, he's allowed the most yards after reception, or the most yards after reception of any corner with 278 yards. That's absolutely nuts. That's absolutely insane. Tyreek Hill is known for this recently, right?
Is Tyreek Hill any good at running after the catch? I haven't seen any of his games.
He's okay. He's not bad. So no, I mean, like Tyreek Hill is back to his rookie season when it comes to a snap slot count. So he's playing almost all of his snaps out of the slot. They are not using him as much as a deep threat receiver, although they still will. But they have Mecole Hardman for that, right? They have other players. So Tyreek Hill is getting a ton of targets. Like we could see him north of 10 targets easily this week, and probably easily above 10 receptions. But yeah, I love Tyreek Hill. Mecole Hardman as well is a little bit of a pivot if you don't like Tyreek Hill. He still sees a ton of snaps and in the slot. And he's a slot guy that can see 40 or so snaps in this upcoming game. So I like Mecole Hardman as a dart throw. What are your thoughts on that aspect?
I'm one of Mecole Hardman's biggest fans. I have him rostered in 80% of all my leagues. He's one of my favorite players in the whole league. Tyreek Hill's obvious play. He's just everything you want a wide receiver to be in DFS. He has got massive upside this season. He's seen way more targets and stability than ever before. He's just magic. And Patrick Mahomes is going to do to this Bucs secondary what Justin Herbert did a couple weeks ago. And it's going to be fireworks. There's not going to be much running in this game. Both run defenses are solid. Mecole Hardman's a great dart throw. Sammy Watkins is another good play because he's going to score touchdowns, and you just don't know when they're going to come. He's another perfect DFS play. Byron Pringle's out, so I see a lot of upside for Watkins. I see a lot of upside for Mecole Hardman, and of course Tyreek Hill. He is a sexy, sexy play this week.
Yeah, it's a smash play for me. All right, so I was sitting there, right, and I was watching the Rams-Bucks game. And it kind of like twisted a couple knobs for me because I loved what the Rams were doing. I did not expect to see Robert Woods go off. I didn't expect it. They were forcing Carlton Davis to line up on the right side up against 0 wide receivers. Like they were playing it because they know the Bucs play zone. So they were running 2 wide receivers over to that side while rolling out guys to the right-hand side are working off the play action fake. And it was forcing Carlton Davis to pick one or the other. Whichever one he did not pick, they would either hit the wide receiver underneath or they'd hit the wide receiver over top. I feel like the Chiefs could end up rolling out the same exact game plan because of the fact that they both get creative when it comes to Sean McVay and Andy Reid.
Yes, and you might not know this, but both of those offenses run a lot of tight sets. They run their all 4 wide receivers in tight to the line a lot. Both offenses do that. And so I think that's already in the cards for Andy Reid to run more of those bunches where even if there's 3 or 4 wide receivers, none of them are outside the numbers at the start of the snap. So you're looking at Tyreek Hill in space, you're looking at Mecole Hardman in space, and they're just as explosive, if not more explosive, than Bobby Trees and Cooper Kupp. And Cooper Kupp shredded that secondary in the first half, and Bobby Trees shredded that defense in the second half. It was almost like, oh, hey, Robert Woods didn't get enough touches in the first half.
Yep. Oh, it kind of pissed me off so bad because I had Robert Woods face planted essentially because of the position he played up against Carlton Davis, and then boom, Robert Woods goes off. So I still won money, but
Yeah, I started both of them in one of my redraft leagues, and I was just like, hey, man, I like the floor of both of them, and one of them's going to do something. I didn't know that both of them were going to go over 25 points. That was magnificent. Bobby Trees I have just about everywhere, too, and it was a great, great weekend for me. I made a comeback. I had a 35-point comeback because of Bobby Trees.
That's amazing. All right, so for me, CH and Bell are both out. Travis Kelce is a no-go for me. And this is absolutely insane. I gotta go through the stat real quick. They've allowed, when it comes to Buccaneers, they've allowed 6 touchdowns in the past, 8 games. Only 2 touchdowns. That's to the tight end position, by the way. They've allowed 6 touchdowns in the past 8 games to the tight end position. Only 2 touchdowns were had by the starting tight end of the team that week. Like, I don't know if they forget there's another tight end or if their blitz percentages are like through the roof because they have the second highest blitz percentage in the league right now. But yeah, like they just forget that there's a second tight end on the team. Kaiser over there, right?
Right, and that's it has a lot to do with a lot of those were goal line touchdowns where you kind of like run the play action and just kind of dump it over the top when everybody crashes in.
Yep, Parham was one. We saw it time and time again.
Yeah, well, Parham's 6'8". I mean, why wouldn't you throw it to that guy on the goal line?
God, I cannot wait till it becomes a featured tight end in this league.
Mm-hmm. XFL star, just like PJ Walker.
Yep.
But yeah, I see Kelce as a fade too, just because its price is out. It's way too high.
Kaiser could be a sneaky play. If you want to go contrarian on the tight end, if you want to punt that position, like Kaiser's that absolute play, man.
2,500, baby. And
I'm not saying he's a lock, but 2,500 to get a guy that gets a touchdown, like you're multiplying his value times 4 if he gets a catch for 10 yards and a touchdown or a catch for 5 yards and a touchdown.
What do I call that, Chase?
You tell me.
A pointy dart.
Oh, yeah, that's right. A pointy dart.
It's a pointy dart. It's a dart that you throw that has a pretty good chance of sticking to the board if you throw it.
I like that. All right, now similar to the Chiefs wide receivers, the secondary over there for the Chiefs is tough to gauge, where people are going to line up. And it's not so much because of the fact that they're being tricky and, Andy Reid's offensive play call, it's because people haven't been healthy. Meanwhile, the matchups have been all over the map. So I don't know exactly how it's going to line up, but I am expecting to see Travarius Ward match up with AB. Meanwhile, Breeland should be across from Evans. And yeah, I don't like either one of these matchups for either guy. I mean, Brady's been absolutely terrible throwing the deep ball. And
for his last 19.
That's so bad.
That's a month without completing a single pass over 20 yards.
I mean, Travarius Ward, like he can get beat deep, but that's not a guy that like I want to target. Like that's a very dull dart throw.
Yeah. No, I mean, Brady's throwing up wounded ducks down the field. And like the one that ended the game last week he's going to Cameron Braid up the seam. What are you throwing to Cameron Braid up the seam? Do you think it was Gronk or what?
No, he thought it might have been Tanner Hudson, but he got confused. All right, no, but Godwin over there is actually the guy that I want to play in cash games. I'm playing a few tournaments too. This could be a game where they're playing from behind. Godwin could see 15 targets. We know that the Chiefs, they want to keep everything in front of them the best that they can. So Godwin could see 15 targets for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's very realistic, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They're also going to dare Tom Brady to throw it over the top too. So they're going to try to sit down on Godwin. Godwin's an excellent, like top 5 route runner. He's going to be the dump off target. We've seen that from Antonio Brown the last few weeks, but I think they're going to lock down AB pretty well this week, like you said. Godwin's a play for me as well. And I think you're about to talk about Gronk, and Gronk's a play for me as well. Well,
so Gronk, like, yeah, he's a play for me. I don't really have too much to add to his value. Sorensen's been okay up against the tight end position. I'll still play him, especially in these stacks. But where I'm really attacking heavy is Fournette, right? Who's a pass catching option at the running back position.
Yeah, especially if your game script is how you expect, where Tampa Bay's coming from behind, because Fournette in a neutral game script, it doesn't even see the field. We're seeing a lot of Rojo, and then you're seeing Fournette come in if they're way up or way down.
Yeah, I mean, he's averaging over 5 targets a game. Like, this is the guy they go to when they're down, like you just talked about. I don't hate Rojo, by the way. Like, the least amount of yards the team has gotten with at least 23 rushing attempts is 143 yards on the ground. So Rojo's still an option, but the RB is going to be involved, and honestly, I'm going to lean towards Fournette. We saw them mess up and not run enough to get up against the Saints. Next week, they had over 30 rush attempts. They didn't rush enough up against the Rams this past week. So I'm assuming that we see a big time run game this week, and I love attacking Fournette as a counterpoint.
Yeah, if we can kind of gauge where Bruce Arians' head is at, is he's a very spiteful coach. If he didn't give somebody enough touches the week before, that guy's going to get a ton the next week. And he's back and forth. He's wishy-washy, but it's been an alternate kind of thing where you see these wild, different game scripts from the Bucs every week, and you just can't peg it down. But it looks like it's just back and forth. If you look at it on the surface, it's a Rojo, then a Fournette, then a Rojo, and then a Fournette. So, yeah, it's Fournette's turn.
All right, so let's go ahead and hop into this next segment. By the way, I want to bring up something random that's not on the show sheet, right? Like something completely random. Let's talk about, what was it? The other game that I had here. I had the Panthers game, right? And it got deleted because you didn't want to talk about it. Why was that the case?
Oh, I thought you were giving me like an option route there.
It was an option route. It was a complete option route.
I deleted it because I didn't want it to distract me when I was typing up about the Chiefs and Bucks. but I mean, like it was a close call for me too, because I like the Panthers game too.
Yeah. All right. So the Panthers game's still in play. We didn't have enough time to actually get into that. So, but that is still play if you guys like your stacks. Now let's go ahead and I didn't expect us to cover that. Like, we're already at 51 minutes and we still have 2 more segments to go. So
okay, right? Okay.
We always hit about an hour and 20 minutes, regardless of what show it is. No matter what we do, it's an hour and 20 minutes almost every time.
We're very thorough.
Yeah, you're not kidding about that. All right, so you guys should see our show notes. Like, if you guys actually read our whole show, it'd be a whole different animal. We're talking about 3 hours long. All right, so let's go ahead and hop through some of these sneaky plays, which are kind of obvious plays. Like, they're plays that are right in front of your face, but people don't realize, like, hey, these plays are right in front of your freaking face. Like, I don't care about the pricing. Like, I don't care about this. These are plays that need to happen. And I think that we should start off with one that neither one of us prepared for, which was the Royce Freeman. What are your thoughts on the Royce Freeman side of things? We actually did just have a question, by the way, come in from Chris. I don't even know if he's still with us or not, but like, you know, is since this isn't a starter sit show, like it's a DFS show, do you feel like you need to pivot off of any of these wide receivers or tight ends or anybody?
Jeez, I guess you have to, because I mean you don't even know if they're going to throw the ball more than 5 times in this game. It's a really
they're up against the Saints. They're going to have to, because the Saints are so good up against the run.
Brutal against the run, like they're tops in the league.
Dominant.
But what are you going to do with this game? It's like, I don't want any of the Broncos players.
Throw it in the trash.
Throw it in the trash. Play the Saints defense. Play Latavius Murray if you're desperate. But good Lord.
I'll take Royce Freeman. I'll take Royce Freeman some garbage time.
Royce Freeman is probably one of the top 5 my favorite Oregon Ducks. I'm a huge Oregon Ducks fan. Royce Freeman's top 5 of my all-time favorite players, but I'm not playing him this week.
I'm going to play him. Like, in a couple lineups. Like, I'm not saying every single one.
Go for it, Chase.
I just want to see him do a 5-step drop. His muscles, when he does a 5-step drop, you won't even be able to see the football, man. You won't even be able to see his jersey. Like, this dude is stacked, man. I just want to see him do a 5-step drop. If he does
anything, you're going to get all the Lamar Jackson comps. It's going to be sad.
I just want him to perform so bad. So bad. All right. So let's dive into some of these other guys, Bo. Which one do you want to talk about first?
Christian Kirk is the guy that, I mean, nobody's talking about this guy. It's just, for me, it's just, why are you not talking about this guy? Especially his price keeps staying down. He's always your big 20-point upside guy, and he's getting the off corner this week. The Patriots have Stephon Gilmore, who's a pretty damn good corner. He's going to get Hopkins, so you can't really pivot off of Hopkins at all because he's so good. But J.C. Jackson, He leads the NFL in interceptions because he's got great ball skills, but he gets burned deep by speed receivers. And guess what? Christian Kirk is definitely a speed receiver. And so I'm loving the Cardinals passing attack, assuming Kyler Murray doesn't have to throw with his left arm this week. It's going to be really sleepy because people think the Patriots pass defense is good, but it's not.
I like it, but I have somebody else that I want to focus on for this matchup. So I don't know how much.
And everybody who knows you, Chase, knows who it is, but we're not on the Flyers part yet. Yeah, so yeah, we're sneaky play for sure. For me, it's Kirk is your hidden in plain sight kind of guy.
Kirk's not a bad pick, but up against J.C. Jackson, who has the ability to recover up against slower wide receivers, he makes me nervous. I don't hate it, but I also probably will not have a single share of him in DFS. I just don't know what his upside is.
It's 23.5 usually. He's done three games over 20 points this season, and all of them in the last 2 months.
In your defense, I will say that when we look at Murray, right?
Yeah,
Murray's not going to be able to run as much. They're going to try and keep out of harm's way in some quick opportunities. So whether that's a quick hitch and go type thing, Christian Kirk does have that chance. But I want to talk about Wayne Gallman.
Yes.
Wayne Gallman is in a perfect position up against the Bengals. They're going to have short field. The Giants defense is actually really good. And I don't like the Giants defense as much in defense play up against Brandon Allen. But like Gallman, could see short field opportunities time and time again. And this dude is a scoring machine. And this offensive line is kind of like rejuvenated, bringing these rookies and these younger players. So Gallman for me, man, I think that he could have 2 touchdowns this game, and he's cheap.
Gallman is at 5,000, and he's got 4 straight double-digit weeks. So if anything, he's a perfect cash play at that price. And like you said,
probably better for cash.
He's going to have pretty sneaky upside to hit value. If only 5,000, 3 times value is 15 points, and he's hit that 2 of the last 4 weeks where he's gone double digits. So I'm not shying away from in certain tournament bills either, because he's getting in the end zone. He's the running back 4 entering week 12 in the last 4 weeks. Running back 4 overall in the last 4 weeks. What does that tell you? He's going to score points.
What about Gaskin? Is there any news on Gaskin?
I think he's still being activated, but I'm not sure he's going to play. And that's really scary, because if he does play, I want to kind of sneak him in there because
he's going to have no ownership.
Yeah, and the Jets, let's just say they're not good.
So if Gaskin plays, I'm going to sneak him in there. I think they're trying to keep the hidden. I think that the Dolphins come playing mind games. I mean, we watched Brian Flores, right? Mm-hmm. He's a Belichick disciple. He knows how to trick the media. So I kind of like asking
him to a Q tag until kickoff, until the league says, "Hey man, you got to tell us who's in and who's out." He's going to hold that right inside his jacket pocket.
So I'm going to play Gaskin in quite a few matchups if he's healthy. But guys, keep in mind, if you put in the lineup right now, just make sure you check it before you wake up.
For sure. So So James says Gaskin's out. So are you playing Breida?
Oh, Gaskin is out. Okay, cool. Good to know.
That helps.
Thank you.
So what about Breida?
No, I was only on a Gaskin.
What about Patrick Laird?
No.
Yeah.
No, Laird's probably the most enticing piece to this, but no.
Yeah. No. I think there's too many other options.
Lynn Bowden?
Lynn Bowden is intriguing, but I think he's classified as a wide receiver still, isn't he?
No idea. This is stuff we should know, but we've been so busy today.
Yeah.
Jesus. All right, so let's move on to something we do know. Hey, Chef, stop copying me.
What about Bowden?
Oh, God. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into some stuff we do know. Let's go ahead and hop on to the next guy with Hines, because Jonathan Taylor's out. Hines went off up against
2 weeks ago.
My heart hurts. I'm just bummed out. Do you want to talk about Hines? Go ahead and talk about Hines. I don't want to.
So Nyheim Hines is 4,600. He put up 28.5 just 2 weeks ago against these same Jacksonville Jaguars. Or who are they playing? No,
No, they're playing
Titans.
the Titans. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Tennessee Titans don't have a good defense. Hines is a very good receiving threat out of the backfield. Phillip Rivers is captain check down, and there's no wondering this week who's going to get touches. It's going to be a lot of Nyheim Hines and a little bit of Jordan Wilkins. And so, I mean, without Taylor there, we finally figure out what Frank Reich is going to do because his hand is forced. And so Nyheim Hines against this defense, he's going to get lots of touches. A lot of them going to be catches out of the backfield. He's got big play possibilities because he's such a great athlete. It's another free space at 4,600. And I don't know how chalky he'll be. I haven't really looked into it, but he's a guy.
He's going to be straight chalk.
Yeah. He's still a guy I might eat.
All right, he's still a guy you might eat.
Yes. Did you see him do that backflip thing?
Huh?
When he scored that touchdown a few weeks ago, he did like a backflip celebration, and even Simone Biles was impressed, and that impresses me too.
All right, so tell me about Crowder because you have him as a sneaky play.
Yeah, Sam Darnold's back. Jameson Crowder doesn't get any looks from Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco is blind. He's farsighted. So Sam Darnold is nearsighted. Sam Darnold doesn't look for the big shots at Rashad Perryman or those other guys like Denzel Mims as much as Flacco looks deep. And if he doesn't find something deep, he usually makes bad choices. He doesn't check down. That's the problem with Flacco is he doesn't. He just throws the ball into coverage, and he makes big plays. Darnold's the opposite. He makes bad choices in close where he just tries to force feed Crowder. So Crowder might get 10, 15 targets this week because his boy's back.
So this isn't DFS, but I'm really excited for Paris Campbell next year. I'm just so excited.
Mm-hmm. I love Paris Campbell.
I mean, Paris Campbell is going to end up having Sam Darnold at quarterback, and this is just going to be amazing.
I kind of see that angle with the Colts because
it's a perfect angle. Like it's literally because
Trevor Lawrence goes to the Jets. They trade Darnold for a second or third to the Colts. Yeah, I see it. That's a really good call, and I agree with you.
All right, so let's go with Isabella, right, for the Flyers. Let's hop on the Flyers. Let's talk about Andy Isabella because the Patriots, they allow the most explosive passing plays.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to get excited about Andy Isabella, but it's like this is either hit or miss. Like I was like there are certain weeks where I see Andy Isabella absolutely going off, and you would think this would be one of those weeks. They allow the most explosive passing plays, period, the end when it comes to the Patriots. But I don't love his matchup against Jonathan Jones. Like it could
Jones
leave.
Has been pretty tough.
Yeah, like he's actually good in the slot overall. So this could leave him in single coverage deep. And if he gets, Gilmore, if he gets McCourty, there could be a touchdown to have there, but I don't love it. Like I'm not like I love Andy Isabella, but I don't love this situation. And I never say this.
I never thought I'd have to convince you to throw Isabella as a dart throw, but consider this. Isabella's snap share was 50% or so before Fitz kind of injected himself back in. And so last week we saw Fitz blow up because he got more of those snaps in the slot in Isabella's place. And Isabella's snap share dropped to like 30-40% last week. And that's why you called Fitz. Fitz was there. Fitz was your call. This week Fitz has COVID. And so Isabella's going right back in that role. And so I'm going to tell you to play Isabella because his snap share is going to go back up over 50%. He'll be on the field for all those 4 wide sets. And you, like you said before, Kyler Murray is not going to run the ball as much because they want to protect that shoulder.
The big reason as to why, the whole reason why this happened was because Dan Arnold can't block. So once they found Max Williams and once they found Daniels, right?
Yeah. Darnell Daniels or whatever his name is.
Yeah, Darnell Daniels is actually a really good blocking tight end.
Right.
So they took away the 4 wide receivers and went just like they did towards the tail end of last season.
Mm-hmm.
They took away the 4 wide receivers, went back to 3 wide receivers and a tight end, and Darnell Daniels has been blocking the entire time. So now they went right back to where they were before with 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end. So now that he's back in this role, like I said, I like it, but I don't like Jones has been just so good as a slot corner so far this year. Now, we talked about it like in our group with @join_our_circle_. Like we had multiple conversations with this. And It was something that's where the New England Patriots, they're actually having, what is it, like dime packages plus almost every single snap. They're lining up 5 defensive backs. They're lining up 6 defensive backs.
Their base is a 4-2-5 nickel. Like if you look at, they don't run 4-3. They run a 4-2-5 nickel as their base. So they always have at least 5 DBs on the field. And so it's because they have the ability to stop the run with their front 4. Their front 4 and their linebackers are really good in their roles. So they have to kind of throw speed on the field in a certain way so they can cover. And they've done a pretty good job underneath at covering because they have all those DBs on the field.
And that makes sense, by the way, because of the fact that they're 19th.
Mhm.
They're 19th in average yards per run, but they're 11th in breakaway run rate. So essentially, when you play that many defensive backs, the running back can obviously get a set amount of yards, but also at the same time, he's not going to break away a ton of runs because of the fact that there's so many guys with speed on the field.
Yeah.
Like when Saquon Barkley faced stacked boxes.
You can run at them, but not away from them.
Yeah, so when Saquon had the breakaway run rate, that's why it happened, was because he faced so many stacked boxes every single week.
Yep.
But yeah, so it concerns me a little bit with Isabella. I'm not going to play him in every single lineup, but I think he's a good flyer in a couple different opportunities.
Yeah, it concerns me more with Drake and Edmonds, to be honest, because it's not a good matchup for them.
No.
And so it's because they like to run stretch zone run plays, and that's playing right into that 4-2-5 nickel base package. So they're going to have to throw their way to beat the Patriots, and they're going to have to throw it down the field to beat the Patriots. So I'm saying Isabella is definitely a dart throw that I would play.
All right, so let's talk about Darnell Mooney, who also sketches me out.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
Troops
got a good
is back.
matchup.
Troops is back.
But yes, Trubisky! Like the guy that I've been touting for freaking weeks now. Like I didn't understand why he got taken out. And I love Darnell Mooney. And Darnell Mooney in the first few games, or first couple games, he was also splitting snaps with Quinn. But wait, Quinn? No. Ginn. Not Quinn. Ginn. So he's splitting snaps again. It was the first game or two. But either way, like he's now become a focal point of the offense. Thing is that Foles can't hit him because he sees so much pressure in his face. Meanwhile, Trubisky
sucks.
Trubisky could hit this guy, constantly. And by the way, Darnell Mooney is a big play receiver. If you guys don't have Darnell Mooney, you need to go get him in regular leagues. But for DFS purposes, I like him a lot. But he has Green Bay this week.
But Green Bay, other than Jair Alexander, they haven't been that good. Jair Alexander is the boat that he's the high tide that raises their boat in the pass game. So Mooney can get deep on them. The key is going to be, is Trubisky going to be able to break out of the pocket and scramble more than Foles to buy some time, because that's going to be the thing. Green Bay's pass rush is for real. And that's what's kind of been covering up their off coverage as well. Jair Alexander can hold his own. He's an eraser. Their off corners and their safeties are not as good. And so their pass rush is what covers up the mistakes that they make. So if Trubisky can roll out and buy some time, he can make some big plays with Mooney. I love Mooney. Watching his tape, I could do that for hours.
Dude, that makes perfect sense. It really does. And, one of the guys I want to bring up is of course, J.D. McKissick, who is a great flyer because the Dallas defense is terrible. Because I'm just kidding, guys. I just want to give Bo a hard time because he won't listen to me. He wants to keep on talking about Dallas's linebackers cannot defend freaking running backs when all you've seen over the past 2 years is the exact opposite. So, which, by the way, I'm working on developing an app for that. Anyways, you brought up Gabriel Davis. We can skip that, but let's talk about your one that I was actually thinking about playing and thinking about bringing it into this, but I just couldn't bring myself to it. And that's Laviska Shenault. What's going on with Laviska?
So Visca's missed the last 2 games with a pulled hamstring. He's back now, no injury designation. We have Mike Glennon, who's the check down captain of the world other than Alex Smith. He's like the vice president of the check down club behind Alex Smith. And it's going to be James Robinson. It's going to be Laviska Shenault. It's going to be Colin Johnson. That's basically Keelan Cole. I hate Keelan Cole. I might throw him in 1 or 2 places, but Laviska Shenault is wheels up. This is the time where we're going to see his explosive ability because there's no DJ Chark and there's no Chris Conley this week. So I definitely see Chenault stepping into one of those roles and making some big plays.
Yeah, I mean, it's something as far like it still makes me nervous just because I don't know how they're going to utilize him, especially the new quarterback. But I mean, it's going to scare a lot of other people a lot more. So
All you got to do is give him the ball. If you've ever seen him run with the ball, he's dynamic. He can't bring him down with one guy. They just haven't given him the ball.
So let's go ahead and let's end this episode. But by ending this episode, we actually have to bring on a lineup builder, right?
Yeah.
Let me do this because I did not have it set up prior to this show. This is great radio. The best part is the fact of my balance after making a deposit, but it's all good.
Yeah. Hey, it's good to see a little bit up there, huh?
Dude, it's good to see that. I don't want to go to afternoon only, so let's go. No, I don't want showdown.
Main slate, baby.
Yeah, where is that? This one? Let's go with this one. That should be all of them, right?
Yeah. 12 games. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely main slate.
Wait, do you already see it? Because
no, it's just those massive contests are never early or late only. And there's only 3 games on the late games. Yeah, I can't tell from there. Zoom in, zoom out.
We're fixing it, guys. Sorry, we're fixing it. All right, so let's go ahead and build a lineup. We both liked Josh Allen, both like Patrick Mahomes. Both these guys are super expensive, but I feel like we should go with Derek Carr because of the fact that ownership should be lower and it makes sense, right?
Yeah, and that price is gorgeous.
All right, so with Patrick Mahomes being at the price he's at, with Derek Carr being at the price he's at, it makes a lot of sense to go this route. So do we go the cheaper route with Henry Ruggs? Because obviously we should be playing Darren Waller at this point, right? Should we just go ahead and enter that one in?
Uh-huh. Yep. Come on, eyeliner, baby. Don't let me down, eyeliner.
All right, so with the pricing being at where it's at, let's just check out Aguilar's pricing.
51, if I remember.
49.
Ooh.
And let's check out Ruggs.
Ruggs is cheaper. 41.
Well, I hope he would be. 43. So $600 price difference. I still want to lean Ruggs for tournament purposes, but I don't mind Aguilar.
I like Ruggs better.
Okay, cool. Let's go with it. We're gonna run it back, right? We're gonna go with Calvin Ridley.
Calvin Ridley, yes, without a doubt.
And then Hill, without a doubt, too, right?
Yeah, might as well. I think that's like we said, a free square, $4,000.
All right, so we have the majority of our lineup hitting one of these. And normally, like I said, I don't like to double stack. I like to try and find my values otherwise, but Henry Ruggs should be the perfect fit to make a contrarian play. Now,
he's cheap enough to where even if he has just your regular game, it's still going to be value.
Absolutely, 100%. So I kind of want to go with Dalvin Cook just to kind of make this lineup, wholesome. Like Dalvin Cook's going to smash against Carolina, but
yeah, it's there's other choices up there. Dalvin Cook's great. I mean, I have him in a lot of builds because, even at that price, you can see even 3 times that price is pretty much his like median score. His upside is unlimited. We're talking a guy who could score 40 plus on a given week. So, I don't see any reason not to play Cook because of that. Like, I see his floor as being just below 3x this week.
All right, so we'll go and Dalvin Cook.
Yeah. Do you see anybody else that you want to spend up on?
We can still spend up on a ton of pieces at what we're doing right now. Let's go defense right now, settle defense.
Yeah.
Should we just go ahead and pivot to New Orleans?
I love New Orleans. Yeah, it's going to be really chalky nowadays. But you also have the Giants. You also have the Chiefs. I like the Chiefs to force some Tom Brady turnovers. But yeah, we can go with the Saints. They're red hot, and that Broncos dumpster
I don't even
fire.
care that there's chalk at this point.
Yeah, that's a game that you kind of have to exploit.
So we can either go super low and then super high, or we can end up, sticking towards the middle. Alvin Kamara all of a sudden becomes interesting. Latavius Murray is another pick. It becomes interesting. But I've been looking, right? And one of the guys we did not talk about was actually Kareem Hunt.
Yes, 56. That's a good price. Kareem Hunt is in a few of my builds as well.
He's cheaper than Latavius Murray is.
56, and he has a higher upside for sure.
Let's do. I mean, Cole Beasley is somebody that we want to exploit as well.
Yeah, I prefer Hunt at 56.
Okay. And that leaves us with 4K at the wide receiver position. So we have Hunter Renfrow. We've got Bourne. We've got T.Y. Hilton. Is there anybody that's standing out to you that makes you want to play? Oh, Chenault's at 3,300.
Yeah. Then we could pivot back to somebody else too.
We might as well just leave 700 on the board.
Yeah, if you like it. If you like it, if you love it.
Guys, Derek Carr, Brian Hill, Dalvin Cook, Henry Ruggs, Calvin Ridley, Chenault, Waller, Kareem Hunt, Saints. Where would you upgrade? Maybe the defense.
Hill, maybe at Hill, maybe at the defense.
For 47, I don't think Brian Hill could be ousted.
Yeah,
at
it depends
5K, if you want to go with Nelson Aguilar over Henry Ruggs, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But I like our lineup, man. I think we're set.
Yeah, I don't have any problem leaving money on the board too, because it's a tournament and you do have to be a little different.
All right, we're in there. All right, guys. Let's go ahead. Oh, where are we? Yeah, let's go ahead and get out of here. Bo, where can we find you at? Let everybody know where to find you.
You can find me at Bo_McBigTime on Twitter. All my articles are linked on my tweets, so check it out. You can also find my hot sauce, Hotbox Gourmet small batch hot sauce, and my Smoke Shack barbecue rub at hotboxbatch.com. And all of my Hotbox related merch is at veridianglobal.com. So get yourself some sick threads with the best logos in the biz.
Absolutely. Make sure you guys go check us out at joinourcircle_. Once again, at joinourcircle_, and you guys can check me out at ff_intervention. Thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you guys for letting us be a part of your fantasy football lives.